Kilo Echo 7 Kilo. I'll be your net controller for part of this evening's East Coast Reflector Tech Net. Roger will be running the other half. And of course, we've got Vicki on the log working her magic. This is net number 682. We're here every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, we always have a general question for everybody to answer. Tonight's question is, how much power do you normally need to use to get into the East Coast Reflector? How much power do you normally need to use to get into the ECR? We'll start out this evening with the swap and shop listings from Kevin of VE3BZ. Good evening, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin, and good evening to you and everyone else on the net. This is also Kevin, VE3BZ, with tonight's swap and shop. And I have one brand new listing tonight, and that is from Gil, K4GDS in Orlando, Florida. Gil is selling a Zygu Model X6100 QRP radio. It's ideal for parts on the air or summits on the air. It features an all-mode HF 6-meter coverage, covers 500 to 30 megahertz and 50 to 54 megahertz. Has a built-in antenna. And an MFJ 1820T 20-meter telescopic antenna. The original microphone has been replaced. Replace the original microphone coil cord with a straight cord that is much easier to pack. If interested, you can contact Gil by email at K4GDS, that's Golf Delta Sierra, at iCloud.com. And that is all I have this week. If you have anything that you would like to list, just go to eastcoastreflector.com, click contact ECR, and then SwapNet submissions. Or just email me directly at ve3bz@rogers.com. And my question is, normally I use a half a watt, as I am right now on my HD. All right, back to you, Kev, VE3BZ.
Yeah, very good, Kev. Yeah, I also generally only use half a watt, although at the moment I'm on a radialess node, so I'm not sure how to quantify that. Thanks for organizing that for us, Kevin. Next up is Charles, KC6UFM, with some tech talk. Go ahead, Charles.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. This is Charles, KC6UFM, coming to you live from beautiful downtown Guatay, California. Yeah, as far as the question is concerned, like you, Kevin, I am also on a radialess node right now, but when I'm getting into one of my other nodes, I crank my HT down to about 50 to 75 milliwatts and go from there. But if I wanted to get into the closest East Coast Reflector connected repeater here in Southern California, I would probably need about 5 kilowatts and one great big gnarly 2-meter beam, because it's almost 200 miles away. So to get in there reliably, going to need a whole bunch of power, but normally the radialess node. But in any event, I was going to talk tonight, speaking of great big gnarly beams, about a few common questions, if you will, facts and fiction about UHF and VHF beam antennas. I get a series of questions that can all be boiled down to about 4 basic questions. And the first one almost always is that more gain is better, and not really the case, because that question often ends up being framed as that their user is noisy into their local repeater, and a beam is going to fix that. Well, maybe, but probably not. And the beam is almost always going to be the wrong tool for the job. Most of the noise that you encounter on repeaters is going to be due to either line of sight blockage or a polarization mismatch. Line of sight, of course, is VHF and UHF operate on a line of sight. If you're behind a hill or down in a valley and cannot see the repeater's antenna, you're not going to be able to get into it very well. You might hear the repeater just fine because it's got a whole bunch more power and the elevation, but you're not going to be able to get into it too well. The polarization mismatch, that comes down to all repeaters, for all intents and purposes, are vertically polarized. So you need to hold your antenna straight up and down, and that will help tremendously. Let me get a reset here. Okay, another question. I'm reframing these. These are not the exact words that most people use, but trying to make them generic. And the second myth is that, something to the effect of my club's repeater is about 50 miles away. So a beam will let me get into that repeater with an HT full quieting. Well, no, it won't, because no matter how much gain you have, you're not going to be able to overcome the curvature of the Earth. And 50 miles, the physical horizon is below where you're aiming. So you're just not going to make it on 5 watts. You might make it on more wattage, but that is going to be involving reflections, refraction, that sort of thing, getting multipath into that distant antenna and on the repeaters. So, a beam is really not going to help you much. Save your money and, maybe upgrade to a better radio, 25 to 50 watt mobile or a base, and also get your vertical antenna up high. The higher it is, the better it is. So move that puppy up high. The third question is, why do some hams tell me that a quarter wave ground plane is better for local repeaters than a beam? And it kind of gets a little complicated. But what it comes down to is when you use a beam, you're having to play hide and seek with your signal. In other words, a beam antenna, if you picture a flashlight, it shoots out a beam, if you will, of energy, but it just goes in one direction. So you might be able to hit a distant repeater fine, but you're not going to be able to get any of the other repeaters, even ones that are very close to you. So keep in mind, that your repeaters, local repeaters, are all around you. So if you have a beam, you're going to have to be turning it all the time. And rotators cost money, often big money. Reset. Okay, and the last question comes across that comes down to pricing. If you look in HRO or DX Engineering or Gigaparts or whoever's website or catalogs, you'll find that a small beam and a decent vertical antenna, omnidirectional vertical, are about the same price. But since the beam has more gain, it must be better bang for the buck, right? Well, not unless you're aiming for one particular target. Don't go by the gain, because that's not going to help you a whole lot. You need to figure out where you want that signal to go. A vertical antenna, omnidirectional, gives you a fairly low radiation angle to the horizon. It's spread out evenly, 360 degrees around you. Basically, you put it up in the air as high as you can get it again, and you leave it alone. And then you can get on the air, you can hit all of your local repeaters, talk through those. You can work some simplex, and just have a good time with it. With a beam, you have high gain, but you're locked into one direction. Now, if you want to work simplex weak signal, or you want to work single sideband, chase grid squares, that kind of thing, a beam might be a good solution. But if you're just wanting to generally chat, talk to people, get on the local repeaters, you're going to find a beam to be very, very frustrating. And again, you're going to need a rotator. And rotators can go anywhere from $100 up to a couple of $1,000. So keep that in mind when you're evaluating these things. But your biggest problem with most stations is going to be a height issue. You need to get your antenna higher. Even 10 or 15 feet can make all the difference in the world. And there are some creative ways to get your antenna higher. So if you have any questions on those, definitely reach out during the Q&A session here on the TechNet, or drop me an email. So again, this is Charles, KC6 UFM, back over to Net Control.
Very good, Charles. Thanks for putting that together for us each week. Always very interesting. Okay, the next portion of the TechNet is for our new users. These are new users to the TechNet. You may have checked into another net before. You may have been on the Reflector before, but you've never checked into this net before. This will give you a chance to get up right at the front. So if you are new to this net and you'd like to check in, please come now with your call sign. KE2IQF, KE2IQF, this is my first time checking in. I'm a brand new ham.
Whiskey 1, Mike Whiskey Foxtrot Mobile. Whiskey 1, Mike Whiskey Foxtrot Mobile in Wichita, Massachusetts. In and out.
Kilo Delta 7, Charlie Yankee Bravo. This is my first time on this net from Phoenix, Arizona.
This is Kilo Quebec 4, Sierra Romeo Charlie. Trevor, first time checking into this net. I'm in Newport Richey, Florida.
This is Kilo Quebec 4, Romeo Yankee Golf. Lorenzo,
Lima, Ohio.
Checking in.
I believe it's the first
By
time
way of Anchorage, Alaska, in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
All right, let's hold it up there. That's a nice, nice group. KE2IQF. Got you. MWF. We got you as in. Still going to come back and call on you. Stick around if you don't mind. KD7CYB. KQ4SRC. KK4RYG. We got all you folks in the log. The Lima, Ohio station, you got covered up a little bit. Could you come back with your full call, please? KF8GAH. Tim from Lima, Ohio, and I believe it's the first time I've checked in with Yech Net. Yeah, QSL Tim, KF8GAH, got you in the log, and yep, you haven't checked in before, so we'll come back to you here in just a second. Let's see. Albert, you're first up. Looks like you're new to the Reflector as a whole, so great to have you here. If you make your email address on QRZ public, we will send you a newsletter. But regardless, I'll pass it over to you, let you introduce yourself and answer tonight's question. How much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector? The KE2IQF, KE7K.
Yeah, this is KE2IQF. My name is Al. I'm located on Long Island in New York. It's the first time I checked in. The answer to the question, I'm actually using a Echolink on a PC right now, so I'm not using any radio wattage. I do have a hotspot, so when I'm using the hotspot, I'm going at low power, which is advertised at 1 watt. And it's great to be here. I'm enjoying the hobby thoroughly. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for checking in, Albert. Glad you're enjoying the net and the Reflector, and around for the whole net. And maybe you'll have a technical question for us, or maybe you'll learn something from somebody else's question. Thanks for checking in. Larry, did I coax you into sticking around? W1MWF.
This is W1MWF Mobile. Yeah, I'm in by way of the Echolink using a Samsung cell phone in the car. And this is my first time in this particular net. I have been on the Reflector before, and I had technical discussion, so we'll be in the weeds as much as we can be. 7-3s to all, to W1MWF Mobile.
Very good, Larry. Thank you for sticking around. Alan in Phoenix, Arizona, you're up next. KD7CYB. How much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector?
This is KD7CYB. I'm using the Echolink app on an Android device right now, so this is my first time connecting on that, using that method, and it's been really fun seeing Echolink repeaters and links on here and learning more about Echolink.
Very good. Well, you Echolink guys have got me thinking about how much power a cell phone is transmitting with. I'm going to have to look that up after the net. Thanks for checking in. Trevor, Newport Richey, Florida, KQ4SRC. Good evening, Trevor.
Good evening. Yep, my name is Trevor. I'm in Newport Richey. I've had my ham license for a little while now, but I haven't been radioactive, as they say. I'm getting into the Reflector via a 5-watt HT that is synced to you an all-star node that I've got on top of my bookshelf that I've got programmed into the Reflector.
Yeah, QSL Trevor, we put you down for 5 watts. Thanks for checking in. Arinza, Anchorage, Alaska, K4RYG, good evening.
Good evening, Net Control. This is Kilo 4, Romeo Yankee Golf, Arenza, codename Red, Yellow, Green. I, too, am connected via my cell phone using 0.2 of a watt. If I was using my handheld, it would be probably 2.5 connection to the East Coast Reflector, which I've done before. Thanks for having me, and look forward to answer any other questions you may have. This is KK4RYG standing by.
Arinza, thank you for checking in. And Tim, Lima, Ohio, at the moment, KF8GAH, good evening.
Well, good evening to you, Internet. I am currently transmitting, see here, 20 watts out of a little mobile that's connected to a battery that I charge with solar. I have a friend here that was a ham operator. I'm a new ham, and he's an older ham. Repeater, and he was like, "Oh, this is really neat," and he connected it to the All-Star network, and he was how I can, or tell him to do it to change the channels and do all that. I want to do that, right? This is the best one. So, you know, everybody's really getting me interested in this more. I've noticed the older people, when I say older, I'm 57, the older people, meaning the ones that have been in it for a long time, are very, very helpful. The ham community and the East Coast Reflector is awesome. Back to net.
7-3, Tim, thank you for checking in. All right, that clears up the log for now. Let's see if we can pick up a few new users. If you're a new user to the TechNet, please come now with your call sign.
For Golf 8 Whiskey, Victoria, for Golf 8 Whiskey, Double D. Kilo Charlie 2, Uniform Victor, Quebec.
Foxtrot 8, the Foxtrot Alpha Sierra, KF8FAS. I'm not sure if I've checked into the TechNet before.
Mike 7 Echo Tango India, calling, checking in from Lebanon, Oregon.
All right, let's hold it there. I recognize Joy, WB8WVV. Phil and Chris, we both got you, or got both of you with one check-in each, so we'll ask you to stand by for the general check-in portion. And the station in Lebanon, Oregon, fairly scratchy, but could you come back with your full call again, please?
Power up a little bit. This is Kilo Mike 7 Echo Tango India, Christian in Lebanon. 35 watts output and 75% power.
Yeah, okay, Christian, we've got you, and looks like we have had you check in before, so stand by for just a few minutes. We'll go ahead and pick up Joy. Joy, welcome to the Reflector. Looks like you do have a public email address on QRZ, so we'll be sending you a welcome letter later this evening when we process the logs. WB8 WVV, how much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector? This is KE7K. Joy, are you still, well, hold on, we may have a problem with that call sign, just a second. Oh, there we go. 4 Golf 8 W Whiskey Whiskey. Nick, is that you, buddy? How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR?
Yeah, Kessel, good evening, Control. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, this is for Golf 8 Whiskey Victor using portable quenching 5 watts. Just joining and supporting the net from the Philippines, 7-3.
Yeah, 7-3, Nick. Thank you for checking in. And if possible, can you turn off your Roger beep or tone burst there at the end of your transmissions? We would appreciate it. All right, the net is again open for any users new to the TechNet. If that's you, please come now.
Alpha 7, Alpha not X-ray. I don't know if I have been here.
Kilo 4, Hotel Tango Echo, VK4 HTE.
This is Kilo Mike 4, Victor Tango Oscar, Jenny.
TOM, Kilo Delta 2, Tango Oscar Mike, first on this net.
All right, Tom, we have you, KD2TOM. Dennis and another Tom, KM4VTO and VK4HTE. We'll ask you gentlemen to stand by for just a few minutes. We've had you check in before. And then there was a 7 Alpha X-ray station, 7 Alpha X-ray. Come back with your full call, please.
Yada Alpha 7, Alpha United X-ray in southeast of Sweden, and my name is Björn. Bravo Juliet Oscar Romeo November.
This is Kilo Delta 2, Whiskey Bravo Zulu, KD2 WBZ. Gonna say a quick to the fella from Sweden. I have to disconnect and get to work. Hope you get to chat with somebody.
All right, Bob, we're in the middle of a directed net, so we'll ask you to stand by. And Bjorn, we've also got you checked in before, just once, but you have been in here before, so we'll have to be fair to the new users. Stick around for just a few minutes, and we'll pick you up. Check-ins, Bjorn. Tom, KD2TOM, good evening. How much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector?
Evening to everybody. This is KD2TOM. Usually I use 20 watt, using
using a repurposed Motorola CDM radio, so the lowest power I can program is 20. So I could probably do it with only 5. So the repeater I'm using is only 10 or 15 miles away, but because of the programming in the radio, my lowest is 20 watts.
QSL Tom. Excuse me. And QSL Tom, got you down. Thanks for checking in. All right, let's keep going with new users. New users only, please. Come now with your call sign.
Good evening. This is Jerry from Willis, Texas, KJ5 QJW. Jerry from Willis, Texas, KJ5 QJW. Back to you.
KJ5QLJ. Got you out there by yourself. Welcome to the net. Welcome to the Reflector. How much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector?
Yes, this is Jerry, KJ5QJW. KJ5QJW, Jerry from Willis, Texas. I only use 5 watts to get into the reflector, which is located about 12 miles from me in New Waverly, Texas, and then we go from there to the East Coast reflector. Back to you.
Excuse me, QSL Jerry. Appreciate you checking in. We got you down with 5 watts. I'm glad to see there's a nice array of answers here already. So, all right, still looking for new users. New users only. Please come now.
For IEG, I'm a new user.
Hey, good evening, Daniel. Happy to have you aboard. KR4IEG. Question to you, bud. How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR? Daniel, are you still with us? KR4IEG. Nothing heard from Daniel. Daniel, please check in later if you're not able to get back in there right now. I may give you another call here in just a minute if we pick up a couple more new users here. So, final call for any users new to the TechNet. New users only, please. Come now with your call sign. All right, nothing heard. Nothing heard. We'll move on to the question portion of the TechNet. If you have an amateur radio-related technical question, please come now with your call sign. Call signs only, please.
This is W2AJV.
Kilo Charlie 2, 8, Uniform Victor, Quebec. Kilo Charlie 2, Uniform Victor, Quebec.
I recognize W2AJV and KC2UVQ and KF8GAH. Anthony in Atco, New Jersey, you're first up. Go ahead with your question.
Good evening, Net Control, or good evening, everyone on the net. This is W2AJV. I have a question that is frustrating me to no end, and I can't get to the bottom of it. When I'm out, I have my M1KE with me, and I use the hotspot on my phone. I have it tethered to my phone. There are nodes that I cannot reach. Okay? So I go on repeater phone, and I could reach the nodes that I am unable to reach on the M1KE. Okay? I cannot figure out why. Now, when I'm at home and I'm using my M1KE, I have no problem reaching any node that I want to. I just do not understand it. I am totally frustrated. So, I will turn it back to Net Control. You did get them. This is W2AJV. Hang on. Bear with me. Okay.
Okay, Anthony, I'll throw it out to the group. Maybe some people with M1KEs have run into the same situation where you can connect to one with your repeater phone or another all-star device, but not your M1KE. So anybody out there have a comment or a possible solution for Anthony, please come now with your call sign.
K4 Fox X-Ray, Charlie.
My man. Go ahead, David. KE7K.
Yeah, KE7K, K4FXC. Good evening, everybody. I imagine the problem is that the M1KE is not, or registration data is not getting updated on the nodes you're trying to connect to. And it'd be interesting to see a kind of a list of nodes that you can connect to and a list of nodes that you can't connect to or cannot connect to. But many all-star nodes, they expect the IP address connecting to be relatively stable. And if it's changing rapidly, or if you come online, like you're at home and then you go portable on your hotspot or something, then it may take a period of time before the M1KE starts to work, as much as 5 or 10 minutes, maybe. I would hope no more than that, but 5 or 10 minutes perhaps. So that's probably what's going on. The scenario to try to fix this, and I don't know what phone provider you're using. Reset. But to fix it, the solution very likely would be to turn the M1 on
and get it linked to your hotspot, at least linked, for a period of time, perhaps like 5 minutes, and then see if it would work then to connect to those nodes. That may or may not help. But some phone providers are changing IP addresses very rapidly these days, and there are a multitude of other problems that are going on. But it's probably related to your phone provider where the issues happen. But it's unfortunately common these days with some scenarios. I've heard a lot of people that have had issues with it. But it would be kind of curious to know what what nodes you can connect to and which nodes you can't. K4FXC.
Right.
Ron Dixon at the left field for trade, sir.
Okay. W2AJV to net control. Can I go direct with this, sir?
Yeah, W2AJV. Yeah, you can go direct with David for a minute there, but if you can turn off the baseball game in the background, it's covering you up. But glad to hear Trey Turner got a hit. My son's got him on his fantasy baseball team. David, why don't you go ahead and call Anthony there, W2AJV.
Yeah, K4FXC, go ahead.
Well, interesting. One of the nodes that I always can connect to is KC-wide, Kansas City-wide. I have no trouble connecting to that node. And I have no trouble connecting to 30 Charlie. And there are some nodes that I connect to on the Blind Cams network that I can connect to, and some I'm unable to connect to. The Kansas City wide and 30 Charlie, I have no problem connecting to them at all. We're looking at All-Star node 32453 and 30 Charlie. I'm trying to remember offhand what the node number is. If I hear it, I'll remember it. But the other nodes are iffy, and I can't understand it. When I'm on my home Wi-Fi, I have no problem at all. I mean, I go right through. And the carrier that I'm using is Verizon Wireless, W2AJV. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, all right, K4FXC, W2AJ, K4FXC. All right. Well, the node numbers would be what I'm interested in to take a look and see, information about them. But perhaps, catch up with me after the net. Or I know there's some users on here. The M1KEs have had quite a few users on here, and they very likely have been through these same problems and may be able to help you out a little further. But it is unfortunately a common problem with cell carriers. Some carriers in particular, and if you're a problem, or if you're going between multiple cell sites so that your IP address is changing, so if you're like sitting in between two cell sites, you might get a different IP address on one side. If you're connected to one cell and you connect to the other cell, and that gives All-Star a really hard time. So if you don't find a solution for it, then one possibility would be or other kinds of things on your phone, which would, resolve that issue of the address changing. But I'm quite certain the problem is that your IP address is changing on the phone, and that's what's confusing things, because the endpoints the nodes you're trying to connect to don't know where you're coming from. They think that you should be coming from a different IP address than what you're currently coming from, and they say, I don't know who that is, I'm not going to let them connect. So I'm 99% sure that's what's going on, but exactly the mechanism in your scenario I'm not positive about.
But be glad to help try to debug it further, but we won't take more time here in the net right now. But it's becoming a more and more common problem. I will mention that. K4FXC, back to that. And I guess I need to move back over here to my other screen.
All right, thank you very much, David. So yeah, Anthony, if you can maybe start logging, start and write down those actual node numbers, will help David quite a bit. Vicki put herself in the log here with a comment. Go ahead, Vicki.
L1KEs are incredibly temperamental. First, I think the biggest thing you need to do, you have to go into advanced mode and click, I believe it says use as ASL node. Otherwise, you're going through as a web transceiver. And then you'd have to go through 598.529, I believe. As far as internet, I actually do best off my phone, as long as my Bluetooth isn't on. If I do that, then my phone drops as soon as I get a call. With my Starlink, I have a extra mesh node. We'll grab the furthest thing possible and then continually out. But yeah, like I said, they're temperamental. You just find out what works for yours and stick with it. K8VKY.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Phil's up next with another question. KC2UVQ. Go ahead, Phil. This is KE7K.
KC2UVQ. My question is in reference to third party. I read the CFR Part 97, and it does say that if I allow somebody to operate my radio while I supervise them, they can actually talk on the radio. And it says that, they do need to identify the, regular interviews, beginning, end, and, every 10 minutes. But it doesn't say what the proper identification is. Does, let's say, for instance, I let my daughter, talk on a radio. Does she just put out my call sign, or does she need to identify herself as a third party with her name, or, I can't find that in the rules and regulations anywhere. So if anyone has any insight, I would appreciate that. KC2UVQ.
Yeah, great question, Phil. I think I've always ID'd for the person and always said, or I ID'd for myself and then ID'd them as third-party traffic. I've never had them ID for me. Let's see if we can get some clarification. Anybody know the specifics of how to ID as a third-party station? Please come now.
K4FXC.
4 Alpha Victor November with a comment.
The station there in Texas with a comment. We'll come back to you in just a second. David snuck in before you. K4FXC, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening again. It's K4FXC. Here in the regulations may be different depending on what part of the world you're in. Here in the United States, you've just got the ID. It doesn't matter who does it or whatnot else, but the main point is the control operator must be at the transmitter, so that you can't be operating and the control operator wanders away or whatever the case is like that. And this happens all the time, where you have, field day events or GOTA events. So you like the GOTA station at field day, you have people operating the station all the time. The ID is the station, but the control op is right there with them continuously. So it's fine to let any person operating the radio do all of it, just as long as there's a control op that is very nearby, keeping an eye on things. At least that's how it is here in the United States currently. Your mileage may vary in other places in the world. K4FXC back to Net.
Thank you very much, David. And Alpha November Victor station in the Dallas area. Please come back with your full call and then go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, roger that, mate. That was Victor Kilo 4, Alpha Victor November from Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia. Over here, if we have another operator that chooses to use our radio, just like over there in the States, you got to with your radio and the other operator. And for example, if I was going to put another operator onto my station, that operator would then say Victor Kilo 4, Alpha Victor November, second operator, or second op. That's the way that we do it over here. So very similar over there, but you need to say second op or second operator. I hope that was helpful. VK4 AVN back to net control.
Very good, Al. Thanks for your comment there. Sounds like there's a little difference between the Australian regulations and the U.S. regulations, so that's interesting to hear as well. Phil, I hope that helped, and good job getting third-party traffic on the air. Hope they get licensed soon. Tim, Lima, Ohio. Tim in Lima, Ohio, KF8GAH. Go ahead with your question. KF8GAH. Yeah, I have more of a situation. I want to set up a little radio node to go over the internet from radio through the internet to my house, and then output on a radio. So both of them are going to go through the internet, output on a radio, and then while he's walking around the house or out in his backyard, he can call me on the radio, and while I'm walking around my house and in my backyard, I can answer back. I just wanted to see the simplest way to do that. I have some old laptops and some Bofang radios and some cables and little antennas. I thought maybe I could achieve that. It doesn't have to be very high power. I mean, it's only got to go around the yard. Any comments, suggestions on a cheap way to do that? Okay, so just so I'm trying to understand, you're just trying to go, is this other person, are they a ham radio operator? Will be after I get him talking on the radio, or I get him seeing the radio, so I'm going to help him become an operator. That's one of my projects with my dad. He's old, and you guys probably understand that. He's 69, 70 years old. He's not keen on learning new stuff, but he's a very smart guy, and his mind is still super sharp. So I think he can do it. Yeah, good deal. I did the same thing with my dad. I got him a node and got him on the air for a little bit. So, and I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to clarify one more time. You can obviously use something like Echolink to talk to each other, but it sounds like you want to keep the radio involved. Is that correct? As far as I'm concerned, if there's no radio involved, you might as well just use your cell phone to chat, talk, or use Skype, or what other internet method's been around for 20 years. Okay, well, I'll throw it out to the larger group. I'll just make one comment that sounds like what you both need is just an all-star node of some type, similar to the one that you're coming in there in Ohio on the N8AGJ. Maybe he's close enough to give you some hands-on assistance, but let's throw it out to the group. Any other ideas for keeping father and son connected here over the radio, but involving the internet as well?
Okay, K4FXC.
Take it away, David.
Yeah, good evening again. I was going to say, yeah, an all-star node is probably the ideal scenario to do this, which would let you have an HT at either end or wherever you happen to be and link into the network with the HT where you're wandering around, and then, the all-star node would just relay it to the internet and to the rest of your network, which could have, just 2 participants or as many as you want, so you could have a whole multitude of participants if you got a group together. Of course, you can also do that with Echolink. You can do that with IRLP. You can do that with hotspots for digital modes. And so there are a multitude of different approaches. I like All-Star the best, obviously, but it's there are a number of different ways to get there from here. One nice thing that you can do real easily with All-Star that can be a little more challenging with some of the other protocols is you can set up a backyard repeater, which is a literal full duplex repeater, using a couple of Bofang BF888 transceivers, which are about $15 a piece now, and you literally have a full duplex repeater, just like any fancy repeater out there, except that it's very low cost. And you can assemble the whole repeater, hardware and everything included, for about $100 these days. The price is going up because I never thought we'd be paying $15 a piece for 32 gigabyte SD cards when they were $4 a piece last year this time, but prices on all that kind of stuff's going crazy. But it's depending on how inclined you are, it's easy to do, or you can buy hardware off the shelf as well. And sounds like a great project though, and you can certainly make it work for FXC.
Thank you, David. Tim, does that prove helpful? KFAGAH. Yes, and that's about what I thought. Something to that extent. I did write down the Bofang there if there's something cheap. I've got some old laptops that I could run software on. I was hoping I could make use of those instead of buy Raspberry Pis and SD cards and all that. But yeah, all-star node at each location. Just put them in the same group so they can talk. And if that works out well, I'm going to add one of my sons in. And if that one works well, I'll add the other son in because I have grandkids there. And I want them to learn how to use radios. Problem is, they're not going to be ham operators. I have to think about that one. Hey, thank you for your help. I appreciate it. And back to net, and thank you for having this net. Yeah, very good, Tim. Thanks for doing your part and asking questions so we can have a net here. And David, I'm going to ask you a question. If you had 2 all-star nodes and they were both radioless nodes and they were just connected to each other, you don't have to be licensed amateurs, right? You're not going over the air, and you're just using it like a phone system, right? So for Tim's grandkids there, if they had a radioless node on their side and he wasn't transmitting anything over the air on his side, could he still use the all-star node for that?
Yeah, K4FXC.
Good evening. Mike, Echo Mike. P1MEM CQ group.
Oops, I think somebody wandered by accidentally there. The answer is certainly if you're not transmitting a signal on the ham band, you don't have to be a ham, okay? So that's if you're just sending a signal out across the internet using a radioless node, then certainly you don't have to be a ham. You don't have to be a ham to use All-Star or some of these other nodes or modes you've got to be just because that's the only way to get authenticated. But certainly with All-Star you don't have to be a ham. Now at the point it comes a transmitter on the ham band, at that point it's you've reached a significant gray area where I know some folks that do this, and the node IDs is them, and they're calling it third-party traffic because they're still in control of the transmitter, even though it's coming in across the internet. They're basically controlling who's connecting to it, and it's coming in across the internet. Now I don't know really what the FCC would say about that. Gray area, but but if you wanted to talk with them on radioless node to radioless node, certainly that's fine. As long as it's not hitting a ham transmitter somewhere. And I know some folks have done GMRS as well, and that's a pretty gray area also at this point. But again, if it's a backyard system and it's IDing as you and you're on there at the only time they can transmit, then I don't imagine there would be too many people that said something bad, but anyway, just my opinion. I'm way off in opinion land here. K4FXC back to net.
Yeah, all good, David. Yeah, I understand the gray area, and I'll put that can of worms back in the drawer. All right, anybody else with an amateur radio related technical question, please come now with your call sign. All right, final call for any amateur radio related technical questions for tonight's East Coast Reflector TechNet. This is KE7K standing by.
KE7K, this is KQ4YYN. I don't really have a question so much as I have a comment. The FCC can make guidelines on certain things, but there's a but. If it is not published in the Federal Register, it is not a law. It is absolutely not a law. So you might can get by with some things, and they will have a comment period on certain things, but if it's not published in the Federal Register, it is not a law, and it's not enforceable. And this is KQ4YYN with the comment.
Very good, Joe. Comment acknowledged. Thanks for jumping in. Okay, I'm going to recognize the text check-ins and work a few of them here till I get to what I think is going to be halfway through the net, and then I'll pass it over to all knobs to the right, Roger, and he'll take everybody home. So far, they just disappeared on me. So far, from the text line, we have KD2 JPP, KA8 BYU, KK4 SED, KE2 IPJ, W2 AJV, K5 RLR, K6 AAN, KA0 SBP, W3 ICQ, KI5 PMI, and K7 FPS. You guys are all in the logs. I'll work 6 or 7 of you guys, and then we'll let Roger have his turn. Bob, well, let me reset here. Tonight's question: how much power do you normally use to get into the East Coast Reflector? Bob in Gallatin, Tennessee is up first. KD2 JPP.
Hey, good evening, Kevin. Everybody else on the net tonight. We are in the throes of a tremendous, very severe thunderstorm with a lot of lightning. So, well, I'm using a 8 HP, one of the Bowfangs, and their low setting is 8 watts. So that's what I saw. And so that's it, 1 watt. Have a good night.
7-3, Bob. Roy. Well, we've had four 3-letter names in a row. Joe, Bob, Roy, and Les. Roy, K-A-H-I-U, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody on Yech Net, K-A-8-B-Y-U. It depends. When 444-150 was up, I could use extremely low power, less than a watt, because it was close to me here in Lackawanna. I've been using about 10 watts to get into the Colden repeater from my apartment here on 100. But right now I'm using Echolink to get in tonight because ever since that power outage a few weeks ago, the 10 watts just for some reason isn't cutting it to the repeater. So it's really strange. But yeah, I know Dick's out of commission right now, so wait till he gets back on his feet. Maybe you can figure out what's going on there. Yeah, it's never dull with amateur radio. There's always something. Back to you.
Well, have a good evening, Roy. And yeah, I'm sure Dick's itching to get back to that kind of stuff. He was in the room last night for a little bit and looked to be in good spirits and on the road to recovery. So looking forward to hearing him again soon. I know he's looking forward to talking to everybody as well. Les, Claremont, Florida, KK4SED.
Les here in Claremont, Florida, 84 degrees. Yeah, I switch radios. I use about 8 watts on and get on. Yeah, I'll stick with 8 watts. The East Coast is fine. KK4SED, back to net. Glad the Dick is doing well.
Yeah, have a good evening, Les. We got you down for 8 watts. Dean in Comac, New York, KE2IPJ. Good evening.
KE2IPJ. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for doing this. At the moment, I'm just using a handheld radio odyssey, so I'm transmitting at 5 watts. And I may change when I get some new settings and new transceivers, but right now 5 watts. Have a great night, everyone. Back to net.
All right, we got your 5 watts down. And Vicky, when we're done with this net, we should add up all this wattage and see how much we're all running as a team. Anthony, W2AJV, what say you? How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR? Well, Anthony may have bowed out after he brought his question to the net. Randall in Spring, Texas, K5RLR.
Well, good evening to you, Kevin, Vicky, and everybody else on the net. K5RLR. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure how much of the watch is. I use the lowest setting on my Yaesu handheld, the FT70D, so whatever their lowest wattage is for that. K5RLR, back to net control.
That's the absolute perfect answer, Randall, because that's all you're supposed to use anyway. We got you down for, we're going to assume, half a watt. Mike, K6AAN, good evening. How are things in Valley Springs, California? And how much power you use to get into the ECR?
Oh, good evening, everybody on the net. This is Mike out in Valley Springs. Right now, about a watt, just enough from the handheld to get to the clear node and up onto All-Star, and brings in those reflectors. Keep the power turned down low. That's all we need to use. So 1 watt, maybe a little bit less. Back to net control. This is K6AAN.
Thanks for checking in, Mike. Emmy, KA0SBP. Hope you're enjoying your summer vacation there in Minnesota. How much power do you use to get into the ECR? Go ahead.
Good evening, lovely people. This is KA0SBP. I normally use Echolink to get to the ECR, but on rare occasions, I tend to either use All-Star Link's telephone portal to connect to a repeater and then contact the ECR from there, or I use some other options like amateur wire, hams over IP to just, whatever, all the successors to Hamshack Hotline to connect to the ECR. So I guess those are my options right now. So I think that's it. Back to net.
Very good, Emmy. Have a good rest of your evening. Bob, W3IC.
Hi, Kevin. How are you this evening? Hello, Vicki. I use 0 of RF and 40 watts of AC power coming out of the wall. W3ICQ, back to you.
Yeah, perfect, Bob. We'll see how Vicki handles that one in the answers. Thanks for checking in. Bill, Hobbs, New Mexico, KI5PMI.
Good evening, Kevin, everybody on the net. I typically use 1.5 watts when the repeater's up. If the repeater's not up, I will use Echolink, but usually it's 1.5. Hope everybody has a good evening. KI5PMI, back to net.
7-3, Bill. Fred, Reno, Nevada, K7FPS.
Hey, Kevin, Vicki, and everyone on the net. It used to be 20 watts to an IRLP repeater across town, but it's less than a watt right now, according to what I looked for the log. 2 miles starting out. K7FPS.
7-3, Fred. Randy, our system facilitators, W2RBC.
Good evening, Kevin, Vicki, and everyone on the TechNet. I normally log into my net through my node, running the radio at about a half a watt. Back to net control, 73 to all, W2RBC.
Very good, Randy. Got you down for less than a watt. Terry, Austin, Texas, N5RTC.
Good evening, Kevin, Vicki, and everybody else on the net this evening. I use a radioless node, and the output of the wireless chip on the Pi 4B, that's the basis for my radioless node, runs from about 0.2 to about half a watt. So, you know, put it in there any way you want to, but it's certainly less than a watt. N5 RTC, back to net control.
Very good, Terry. We got you sub 1 watt category. And last station on the log this evening for me is Mark in Orlando, Florida, W4KNS. Good evening, Mark.
Evening, Nat. Good evening, everybody. I'm a more traditional guy. I do tech for a living, so I prefer to go old school into my repeater, and I'm pushing about 20 watts out of a Optima. And then when I'm mobile in my truck, I'm not sure what the wattage is on that. It's an ICOM 2730. It's a 50-watt radio, but I'm all over the place, so I leave it as is. But right now I'm pushing 20 watts out of my house through an Optima, hit my local repeater on 70 centimeters. Back to you, Nat. W4KNS.
Thanks for checking in, Mark. We got you down for 20 watts. Okay, that concludes my time. I'm going to grab my half-watt HT and listen to Roger run the rest of the net and get my garden watered. We had a hot day here in Portland. Roger, over to you. KO4QMM, KE7K.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a good evening there. And thanks, Vicky, for logging KE8VKY, KO4QMM in Central Florida. I'll be your net controller for the rest of the evening, and we'll do regular general check-ins now. Mobile or general check-ins, in and outs. Come with your call sign twice and slow.
5 Delta Alpha Delta Whiskey Alpha 5 Dad, Jim in Charleston, South Carolina.
Kilo Bravo Papa Zulu Sierra KB1PZS, Bob in Connecticut.
For OSU and not for Ohio State University, in and out.
7GXU, Joe in Beaverton, Oregon.
Kilo Foxtrot 8 Golf Tango Kilo KF8 GTK Finn in East Lansing, Michigan.
CJM, Whiskey 2 Charlie Juliet Mike, in and out.
Mike 7, Hotel Alpha November, Portland, Oregon. For the East Coast Reflector, W4KNS.
Kilo Papa Echo Tango, KC2 PET.
Kilo Romeo 4 India Charlie Alpha KR4 ICA Randy, Boynton Beach, Florida.
Kilo Quebec 4 Yankee Victor Alpha KQ4 YVA, in and out.
Alright, that was pretty orderly there. We did have a KE2. I might have been KE2 something.
J5, QJW, Jerry, Willis, Texas.
Alright, we'll start at the bottom and go on up. KT4, YVA, in and out, Norman from St. Cloud. Have a good evening there, Norman. Randy, Royal Palm Beach, Florida, KR4ICA. Ross, Alden, New York, KC2PET. Mark, Orlando, Florida, W4KNS. Christopher, Portland, Oregon, KM7HAN. W2CGM, Charles, South New York, in and out. Have a good evening there, Charles. 7GXU, I do believe it is. We'll come back. N4OSU, Jerry, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I do believe he said in and out. I'll double check. Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut, KB1PZS. Good evening, Bob. And WA5DAD. Pretty sure that was the right call sign. Come on back. WA5DAD. And how much power do you normally run to get into the East Coast Reflector?
This is WA5DAD, WA5 Dad, Jim in Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you for taking over the net tonight. I run 1 watt of power into my node that's connected to the internet to get the East Coast Reflector. Back to you, WA5DAD.
QRZ, could we get a name, and is that a vanity call sign? Is that a specialty call sign?
In Charleston, South Carolina, I'm an extra WA5DAD, Dad. My son is WA5SON in Houston, Texas. Over.
Oh, that's awesome. Like father, like son. Good way to keep it in the family. Thanks for joining us, my friend. KB1PZS, Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut. Good evening, Bob. How many, I forgot to ask Dad there how many watts. Oh, he got 1 watt. All right, you're ahead of me, Vicky. How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR, Bob?
Yeah, well, node is running a TYD MDU V380 with a AIOC cable into a Raspberry Pi 3D Plus. That radio has OpenGD77 firmware on it, and dialed down on that node radio to about 50 milliwatts. And I'm talking to you on a Radiodity G77 that also has OpenGD77 firmware on it, and that one is dialed down to 50 milliwatts, about 50 milliwatts into the East Coast Reflector. Roger.
QSL, sounds good to me, Bob. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us this evening. Jerry, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, N4OSU. Were you in and out?
I'll answer the question. I'm running 5 watts. 5 watts. N4OSU, not for Ohio State University. Good evening, Joe.
Thanks for joining us, Jerry. Have a good evening. We got you 5 watts. Joseph, Beaverton, Oregon, KM7GXU. Good evening, Joe. evening, net control. Looks like my forward power shows 14 watts on medium on my Yaesu 310. Right, I got a Kenwood going into my my digital whatever. It's showing 4 watts going out to my antenna, which goes to my node to the room next door. So there we go. My power out. Let's go to Finn, East Lansing, Michigan, KF8GTK. Good evening, Finn. Maybe he was in and out. Finn, you there? KF8GTK. He is now. Christopher, Portland, Oregon, KM7HAN. Good evening, Chris. And how much power do you normally get into the ECR? Maybe it's your first time. Christopher, KM7HAN. All right, moving right along. Mark, Orlando, Florida, W4KNS. You there with us, Mark?
I'm always here. I mentioned in the earlier net, I'm this net. I just have a new one, and that's my question. But to answer your question, I am 20 watts into the repeater right now, old school through 70 centimeters. When I'm home, when I'm in my car, I usually keep that on 50 watts because I don't get really good signal where I'm at there. But I don't know if this is the time to ask a question or not. W4KNS.
Yeah, we keep it kind of simple on this part of the evening. The questions were like from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, just about there. So I'm sure after the net, there's a lot of people out there to answer your questions. Or you can check out eastcoastreflector.com, see if it's in there somewhere. Thanks for joining us, my friend. This is Roger, KO42MM with the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night Tech Net. KC2 PET, Ross, Alden, New York. How much power do you use to get into the ECR?
Good evening, Roger. Everybody in the net. Put me down for pretty much depends where I'm at. I'm at home, I'm right there at the node. 100 milliwatts works, and I'm active. So if I get away, I might bump it up to 2 watts maybe. My node's got pretty good range on it, so yeah, 100 milliwatts. Thanks for running that, Roger. KC2 PET.
Thanks for that, Ross, and you have a good evening. Randy, Royal Palm Beach, Florida, KR4ICA. Good evening, Randy.
KO4 QMM, this is KR4ICA, Randy in South Florida. Good evening, Roger. Thanks for running the net. Hello to Kevin, Vicky, and everyone else out there. I'm pushing 20 watts out of my Yaesu FT991A into a local 70 centimeter repeater. And I want to thank all the fine men and women that are serving in our military right now. I wish them safe travels, and we appreciate them, and we thank them for their service. Back to you, Roger. KR4ICA.
Leesburg, Wisconsin. You'll have to let me know how I did on that. I doubled with you, KD2.
I'll just put my
Sorry about
out
that.
there.
There was a KD2. You come back.
WBZ.
I'm trying, Vicky. All right, we got the bottom of there. Craig, KE9DPW there. Things are moving so fast. Let me go back to Bob here. Cortland, New York, KD2WBZ. Good evening, Bob. How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR?
Good evening, folks. It's about 4 watts. I got a repeater maybe 8-10 miles from my location. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you.
All right, we got you. Vicky actually got you for joining us. And Craig wasn't there. KE9DPW. One last shot. I know the night's not over. We haven't heard from Bertrand yet. Anybody else would like to join us, come in and answer the question of the evening? How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR? Come with your call sign twice and slow.
Kilo 2, Ocean India.
W2, SAL, W2, SAL. Victor Echo 3 in here, Quebec uniform, P3W.
N2BH.
Whiskey 0 Sierra Victor Hotel. Whiskey 0 Sierra Victor Hotel.
This is 9 Yankee 4 Delta X-ray. 9Y4 DX, Bertrand.
4 Golf 1 November Yankee Sierra 41 NYF Mobile in and out.
November 7 Foxtrot Golf Papa. November 7 Foxtrot Golf Papa.
W4FWN, Whiskey 4 Foxtrot, Whiskey November.
Alright, that was nice. W4FWN Dan, Sanford, Florida, N7FGP Scott, Jamestown, New York. 4G1NY. In and out mobile, Stephen from the Philippines. Have a great evening there, Stephen. WOSVH, Sean, Anderson, Texas. 9Y4DX, Bertrand, Trinidad and Tobago. N2BH, Bill, Palmyra, New York. VE3IQU, Reg, Brampton, Ontario, Canada. W2SAL, Sal, Cheektowaga, New York. Top of the list, K2OI, Eugene, Rochester, New York. Good evening, Eugene. How much power do you normally use to get into the ECR? Over.
Right now it's about 20 watts, but that's what I usually run it at. And it's the old-fashioned way, out the antenna.
20 watts it is. Thanks for joining us this evening. My buddy Sal, one of our team members here, Cheektowaga, New York, W2SAL. Good evening, Sal.
Good evening, Alan. How are you tonight? Oh, wait, this is Roger, my 100 caller. We're doing okay. Put me down for anywhere from 20 watts down to a half a watt, depending if I'm coming in off a node or if I'm coming in off a radio. With that, I'll send it back to net control. Everyone have a good night. W2SAL clear.
Shoot, I think I'm about 40 watts when I use the repeater. I got the old dual band Kenwood here, and if something happens to the node, I can flip it right over to the repeater there in Leesburg. So have a great evening, Sal. Thanks for joining us. VE3IQU, Reg, Brampton, Ontario, Canada. Good evening.
And good evening to you and one and all around the net tonight, and especially Dick if he's out there listening somewhere. And doing okay here. The wife and I are fine, kind of sort. As for the amount of power, well, I guess I'm around 45 watts or so of the PM300s I've got every day. So beautiful day here today, and a couple of days, and hopefully everybody's having the same experience. Back to you, and thanks for calling me in. V3IQU.
Thanks for joining us, Red. RP going on there. Bill, one of our team members here, New York, and PH. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Roger, Vicky, and Kevin's probably gone out to his garden already. The radio I use, I think, goes down to 1 watt into my All-Star node, and 2 BH.
Just saying. Thanks for joining us. Bertrand, my buddy from Trinidad and Tobago, 9Y4DX. Good evening, Bertrand, and how much power are you using?
Well, present evening to you, net control, Roger, KO4QM. This is 9Y4DX Bertrand, and my location, Trinidad and Tobago, in the Caribbean. Well, let me say a pleasant evening as well to all of the stations on the East Coast Reflector Tech Net this Tuesday evening, July 21. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, the temperature here in Trinidad and Tobago is just around 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going down to around 76 a little later on. Well, Roger, I cannot the East Coast Reflector except I come through Echo-Link. So it's Echo-Link for me coming into the East Coast Reflector. Hope everyone has a pleasant evening and catch you again soon. Back to you, net control, KO4QMS. This is 9Y4DX.
Thanks for joining us, Bertrand, as you always do. Have a great evening. Sean Anderson, Texas, WOSBH. Good evening, Sean.
Yeah, good evening, Roger. Everybody on the net, everybody working in the background to make all this happen. Sure appreciate it. This is W0SBH, Sean over here in Carlos, Texas. Anderson is the zip code. And I have to say that normally it's less than 1 watt, because I have the repeaters here, 3 repeaters in the backyard. One of them normally stays connected to the East Coast Reflector all the time. So it don't take much to get in. If I have to move out and about, then I'll get on the radio and may have to push it up to 50 watts, depending on how far away I get from any of the repeaters here off the South Coast Reflector. Back to you, Roger. W0SBH. Have a good evening. 73.
You sound good, Sean. I wouldn't change a thing again. Have a good evening. And let's move to Scott, Jamestown, New York, N7FGP, one of our net controllers here. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Roger and Vicky and everyone on the net tonight. If I'm just sitting around the house, I'm generally using a handheld, and that's about 0.2 watts. But if I go driving around, it can be up to 50. So thanks for doing the net.
Thanks for joining in, Scott. Have a great evening. And last on this list, Dan, Sanford, Florida, W4FWN. Good evening, Dan. How much power do you normally use to get into the net?
Well, good evening, Roger, and everyone else on the net. This is W4FWN. Yeah, we run about a half a watt into a Zoom spot. So that's about what we run, about a half a watt. So back to net control. This is W4FWN.
Sure doesn't take much power to have fun in this hobby, does it? Have a good evening, Dan, and enjoy that breeze we had today. Hopefully we'll have another little breeze tomorrow with a few rain showers. And that's it for that list. This is KO4QMM in Central Florida. Roger, you're listening to the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night Tech Net here every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. This is the fun part of the evening where we just ask a question. How much power do you normally use to get into the net? And you can come in with your answer. Anybody would like to join in? We're getting down to the end of the list here. Come with your call time. Join us.
Kilo Mike Echo, Kilo, correction. Kilo Mike 7, Echo Tango India. Kilo Charlie 3, Foxtrot Golf Delta. Kilo Charlie 3, Foxtrot Golf Delta.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Victor Mike Charlie. Kilo Foxtrot Victor Mike Charlie.
Romeo. Uniform, W2RFU.
Kilo Bravo 1 Papa Zulu Sierra KB1 PZS with a recheck. Bobby, Connecticut.
Alright, nice little list. KB1PZS, Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut, W2RFU, Thomas, Boca Raton, Florida, KF0VMC, Tim, Lincoln, Nebraska, KQ4, UPK, Hollywood, Florida, KC3FGD, Ray, Elizabethtown, PA, KM7, ETI, Christian, Lebanon, Oregon. Good evening, Christian, and you are mobile KM7 ETI. How much power do you use to get into the net, Christian?
About 50 miles away from the front, pumping out 26 watts power right at the moment. Copy that.
Right on. Let me see if Vicky got what I heard. Yep. All right. We got you down, my friend. Have a good evening. Safe travels. Ray, Elizabethtown, PA, KC3FGD. How you doing, my buddy? And how much power are you using?
Good evening, Roger. Everyone on the net. Right now I'm on Echo Link, but when I get on my radio, I need to get into the Manchester repeater down in Maryland, and it usually takes 5 watts. That's what I use there. Hey, have a wonderful evening. Back to you, Roger.
You and the missus do the same there, Ray, and have a good evening. Thanks for joining us. Chris, Hollywood, Florida, KQ4UPK. Good evening, Chris.
Hey, buddy. How are you today? I usually use about, being that I do have my own repeater, and so yeah, it depends on where I am. I usually only have to use about watts, 'cause I don't go that far, maybe 8, 9 miles from the house. That's usually the furthest I go. Other than that, I hope everyone's having a great night. Thank you, Vicky, and yeah, everybody, 7-3, back to net control.
And I've had a great day too, Chris. Started the morning out nice and breezy and got my old car out, no air condition, windows down, and had a great ride. Adrenaline going. Thanks for joining us. Tim, Lincoln, Nebraska, KF0VMC. Good evening, Tim. How much power are you using to get in the net?
I think I'm using about 5 watts, 5 to 20 watts. I come off of somebody's cherry pie, and that's how I get onto the net, and that's how I do it. This is KS0VMC, and hey, thanks for letting me into the show. Thanks.
You got cherry pie. You have a good evening there, Tim, and thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure. Thomas, Boca Raton. Did I skip somebody there? No, Thomas, Boca Raton, Florida, W2RFU. Good evening, Thomas.
Oh, good evening, Roger. You got it right. Name is Tom, and we're about 30 miles from W4MOT, the repeater, and we're running about 30 watts, 25 to 30 watts. I tried before 5 watts. I made it, but I got covered over. Anyway, we're hanging out here. Back to you, W2RFU. Bye.
Oh yeah, you really get into trouble with them pile-ups. You know the text line's always there. Have a good evening. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. KJ5BJN snuck in here on the text line. Matt from Texas. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Net Control. Yeah, in Cibola, Texas. Pretty close to the repeater, so I'm getting in at usually 5 watts. Today I'm at 10 watts, but it's nice having a repeater so close to the East Coast Reflector, which always has a lot of great traffic on it. So appreciate you guys, everything you're doing, and back to net.
Man, I tell you, if a repeater doesn't have the East Coast Reflector on it, it's a quiet repeater. You gotta have it. Thanks for joining us, Matt. You have a great evening. Down to the end of the list again. Probably getting close to the end here. Who would like to join us? This is KO4QMM in Central Florida, your net controller. Our question is, how much power you're using to get in on the net? Come with your call sign.
KE8WMI, KE8WMI, Perrysburg, Ohio.
KA4NGE, Kilo Alpha 4, Mike Golf Echo, Birmingham, Alabama. W4PPX, W4PPX.
Yeah, this is Kilo Bravo 1 Papa Zulu Sierra, KB1PZS. I think I checked in like before for a recheck. I was at the bottom of the list, but I think you forgot to call me.
KJ5MEL. KJ5MEL.
All right, we got you, Jose, Austin, Texas, KJ5MEL, Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut. We got you getting there, Bob. KB1PZS, W4PPX, Don, Hollywood, Florida, N4FEZ, Robert, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, KA4MGE, Richard, Chickasaw, Alabama, and top of the list again, KE8WMI, James, Perrysburg, Ohio. Good evening, James. And how much power are you using to get in the net?
I am going currently with 5 watts. Seems to work pretty well. Thanks for coming out tonight, and appreciate the time.
Oh yeah, the air condition feels good in here, James. You have a good evening there. Richard, Chickasaw, Alabama, KA4MGE. Good evening, Richard.
Well, good evening, my friend. This is Kilo Alpha 4, Mike Golf Echo. I'm actually at a Comfort Inn and Suites in North Birmingham, Alabama, on a iPhone, so it's down in the milliwatts. But I'm going through Echo Lake to the East Coast Hub and Reflector there. Marvelous hobby. Been a ham over 50 years. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for giving me something to do while I sit here and drink my coffee out beside the pool. KA4MG, back to...
Oh, that sounds pretty nice there. You enjoy, my friend, and if you're new here, check out eastcoastreflector.com. You'll see what we're all about. Magazine, nets, Zoom room, all kinds of stuff, and we have a lot of fun. Robert, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, N4FEZ. Good evening, Robert. How much power are you using to get in the net?
Well, good evening. I'm like the other gentleman there. I'm actually on my Android phone, so I don't know the answer to your question, but I just put the Echo Link app on my Android phone, and here we are. So I don't actually use a radio. But real quick, I just wanted to share with everybody the Boy Scouts are starting their national jamboree tomorrow, and they're going to be on the air, all modes, all bands, Kilo 2 Bravo Sierra Alpha. And if you Google it, you can see all the frequencies, and they're going to be all the modes and going all week. So if that's something that's of interest, it's really cool because they'll have kids from all over the country getting on the radio, and they were trying to talk to the space station, but I don't know how that's going to pan out. But anyway, just wanted to let folks know. Have a good evening. November 4, Fox Echo Z.
Sounds like fun, Robert. Thanks for sharing. You have a good evening. Don, Hollywood, Florida, W4PPX. Good evening, Don.
Good evening, net control. Everybody on the net tonight. Put me down for 5 watts. I'm only about 4 or 5 miles away from the repeater, so that's working. 7-3. Hope everybody has a great day and a great weekend. Back to you.
Yeah, it's working pretty good there, Don. Change of things. Have a good evening. Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut, KB1PZS. Good evening, Bob.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to do a recheck here because I switched radios, and I'm on a Quanchang UVK1 that has a custom firmware by F4HWN, and this radio right now is turned down to 20 milliwatts into All-Star node. So that's 20 milliwatts. Roger?
might want to crank it up another watt. Just saying, Bob, you're a little bit quiet there, but 1 watt, we got you down. Jose, Austin, Texas, KJ5MEL. Good evening, Jose, and how much power are you using to get in on the net?
Well, I'm using an app repeater phone, and I don't think it's much more than a watt. But thank you all for the net and running it tonight. Thank you, Roger, Vicki, and all of you on the team. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jose, and thank you, Dick, WB2JPQ, for entertaining so many people. This is KO4QMM with the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night Tech Net, and I am in Central Florida. My name's Roger. If you'd like to join us, come with your call sign twice and slow.
KO4 LBM, Leesburg, Florida.
W1 HAC, that is Whiskey 1 Hotel Alpha Charlie, Eric, St. Mary's, Georgia.
Anybody else? We're down to the last call here, the checker flag for the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night Tech Net. Anybody, anywhere?
KJ5, KJW, Jerry, Willis, Texas, running 5. Back to you, Net.
KJ5, 5 watts. What was your call sign again there?
Yeah, Roger. KJ5, QJW is Jerry out in Wells, Texas, just north of Houston. Back to you, Roger.
All right, Jerry, we got your call sign there, KJ5QJW. Anybody else want to join us? Come with your call sign.
17W75, and I'm hitting it with about 20 watts.
Last call, anybody? Kurt chunks don't count. All right, that's it. Alan, oh wow, they got you in Oregon now finally. N7WZI, Jerry, Willis, Texas, KJ5QJW, Eric, St. Mary's, Georgia, W1HAC, KR4LKM, Stone Mountain, Georgia, K5YNU via text line, Flora in Conroe, Texas. Good evening, Flora, and how much power are you using to get in the net? Are you there, Florence? Were you in and out? K5YNU. If that's you, Florence, more watts, over. And let's go to Stone Mountain, Georgia. I do believe we got this call sign right. Might not be. KR4LKM. Is that correct? KR4LKM, something like that.
How about KO4LBM, Leesburg, Florida?
Yeah, I guess that works too. KO4LVM. You're top of the list there, my friend Raymond. Good evening, and how much power you get in the net?
I'm on a Yaesu SD5 at 5 watts, and I'm lucky to be in Leesburg, Florida, which I think I've got about 7 towers covering us.
All right. Yep, I use that same tower from here, from Umatilla. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. Eric, St. Mary's, Georgia, W1HAC. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Roger, and good evening, Net. I don't know the answer to the question because I'm using the Echo Link, but I'm hearing everybody just fine. And on a side note, to Bob from East Hartford, I grew up in Manchester. 73, good night all.
I think Echo Link definitely has its pluses. Sometimes it really sounds good. I use it for mobile and stuff once in a while when I'm out and about. It seems to work good, especially listening. Thanks for joining us. You have a good evening. Jerry, Willis, Texas, KJ5QJW. Good evening, Jerry. And how much power are you using?
Yeah, hi, Roger. Yes, this is Jerry out in Willis, Texas. I'm using a little bitty Bofang radio. It's the UV 5R radio, and it's only 5 watts out through the antenna, and then out to the New Waverly, Texas repeater, and then back out to the East Coast repeater. Back to you, Roger.
Thanks, Jerry. It's working very well. You sound good, and it says you're new there, so check out eastcoastreflector.com if you haven't already and see what we're all about. Zoom room and all kinds of nets and magazine. We have a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff there. Thanks for joining us. We'll be looking forward to more. Alan from Oregon, N7WZI. Good evening, Alan. How much power are you using, my friend? He could have said in and out. You never know with Alan. N7WZI, you there? For some reason, Vicky already has 20 watts there, so he must have said, yeah, there, she had in and out. I was wondering how you knew 20 watts. All right, I guess that ends it. I guess I could check, see if we got a couple more. It's not that late. Anybody else?
N5YK, November 5, Yankee Alpha Kilo.
KN7 GXY, Bravo Kilo,
KN7 GXY.
That Bravo come back. Somebody said something Bravo.
Jen, this is Kilo Zero,
right here.
Bravo Kilo, Bravo.
KN5XY and N5YAK. Don, Arlington, Texas. N5YAK. Good evening, Don. How much power are you using?
Well, maybe a watt. The lowest power setting on a little UV7. It's just going to the node, all-star node in the next bedroom over. So
Anyway, back to net. In 5 watts.
Thanks. Have a great evening. KN5GXY. I think we got that right. Are you there?
Maybe KM7GXY?
No, it was KN5. No, just kidding. Yeah, KN7. Good evening, and how much power are you using to get in tonight?
Don't mess with me like that. I'm new here. So I'm on a brand new ICOM 52A Plus, which I think is at 5 watts, but I've got it turned down a little bit, just connecting to the hotspot. So that's it. Thank you. KM5GXY.
You're doing fine, Michael. You sound good. 5 watts for sure. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Brent, St. Petersburg, Florida, KOBKB. I do think we got you in there, Brent.
On a ICOM IC2000 from about 10 years ago that was donated to me, and hopefully it's working okay with a custom-made antenna. K0BKB.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this evening, Brent, and thanks everybody for joining us. It was a pretty good question. Good evening. Looks like 81 check-ins. Not bad evening. Thank you, Vicky, K8VKY, for keeping things straight. And thank you, Kevin, VE3BZ. Thank you, the other Kevin, for net hosting, KE7K. And thanks for joining us tonight. Had a lot of first-time check-ins. That was a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, check out Open Mic Night. Always somebody new and exciting lately. Fun questions. And Friday, 8 p.m., they're doing something different. You never know what it is. Probably around 8 o'clock. So check that out, too. This is KO4QMM. Thanks to all for tuning into the net this evening. Turn the reflector back to regular amateur use. KO4QMM 73.